Legend has it that the moss grows on the north side of the trees. Well, legend has it when the rains come down, all the worms come up to breathe. Well, legend has it when the sunbeams come, all the plants stay even with their leaves. Well, legend has it that the world spins round on an axis of 23 degrees. But have you heard the story of the rabbit in the moon, or the cow of the bandits while traveling the spoon? Or she left the mountains while sitting.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to False Facts. I'm your host, Liam Chappell.
And I'm your co-host, Joel Chappell.
This is a show where we take a look at common myths and misconceptions, we talk about the origin and history behind them, and then we debunk them.
Nothing we say should ever be used educationally. We are not professionals. Our first topic is going to be on color theory. And that will kind of, set the tone of the entire episode going forward.
The hue, if you will, of the episode.
Sure, let's go with that. Anyway, start with primary colors. So, from an early age, like kindergarten, we're told that the primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. While this is somewhat true, it's not completely true.
Aren't red, blue, and yellow the primary colors of pigments, like paint and stuff like that?
Yes, however, you can get a better, less saturated combination if you use magenta, cyan, and yellow as your basis of primary colors and build up from there. This is why when you open up your printer and you look at what colors are on your ink color cartridge, it'll have a little picture there, and it'll have 3 consecutive circles that are blue, cyan, and magenta. See, printers are very analytical computing machines,
right?
So they have to be very precise. So that's why they use those colors. They need to break it down to its most basic so it can produce any color on the spectrum.
Okay, so that what you're saying is that yellow, cyan, and magenta are kind of more simple colors, or easier to work up from than the other?
So let's take green for example. You can produce green with blue and yellow.
Right.
However, it's a very saturated, if you use equal parts, it's a very saturated dark green. You get a more vibrant, brighter green if you use cyan and yellow together.
Okay.
So, how I said that red, blue, and yellow are primary colors, they just belong in separate categories. So, one category would be yellow, cyan, magenta, and the other category is blue, red, and green.
Right, RGB colors, the base colors of light.
Yes, and so thank you for bringing up light, because that's where we're going to go next, to the light spectrum. So, in art, we use a color wheel. However, it doesn't work that way in the natural world. Light exists on a spectrum, with one end having gamma radiation and the other having microwaves. And we have this tiny sliver in the middle that's visible light.
Right, and it's like a line.
It's a line,
They
yes.
turned into a wheel by kind of curling it, right?
Yes, and I will get to how they were able to do that in a little bit.
Okay.
So, we have... I'm going to jump over to biology now. We have 3 cones in our eyes. They each measure short wavelengths, medium wavelengths, and long wavelengths.
Right. Red, green, and blue, correct?
Yes, because red has the shortest. Blue has the shortest, green is the middle, and red has the longest. When light reflects, our cones pick it up, and it informs what color we're seeing. So I mentioned magenta earlier, but I didn't I told you that didn't exist because it doesn't really exist on the light spectrum. What happens with magenta is your shortest cones that see blue are firing, and your longest cones that see red are firing. So it tries to balance those out. That would be green, but none of your green cones are firing. So your brain has to make up a new color, essentially, in your brain, that's magenta, which is a combination of the longest light waves you can see and the shortest light waves without using any of the middle ones.
Gotcha. So it's taking like the extremes and not using the middle and just figuring out what the middle would be without the middle.
Yeah, so that's why we're able to turn the color wheel into a wheel, because if you notice on a color wheel, and this is a really interesting topic to talk over on a podcast
Because there's no
devoid of
visual
all
elements.
visual
Yeah.
elements. Anyway, so that's why red is connected to blue with magenta and purple there.
Right.
However, magenta has no Hertz wavelength on the light spectrum. It doesn't exist. Your brain has been lying to you.
Right. Magenta and indigo neither exist as actual colors.
Yeah.
Speaking of indigo and purple, that's actually what my first topic's about.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so you know how purple's always associated with, like, wealth and splendor?
Yeah, because supposedly it's like the hardest color to get. You have like those snails they would harvest it from.
Right. Actually, it's one of the hardest dyes to create, but it's not the rarest color in nature. That's blue. Which is ironic, because blue is the most common favorite color in the world. It's also the color of the sky and the sea. Right? So blue is really interesting because it's a pigment that does not naturally occur in any animal except for one. There's only one single butterfly in the entire world that is actually truly blue. And that is the Obrina olive-winged butterfly. They have like 2 blue stripes in the wings, and that's the only animal in the entire world that's actually blue. Now you might say, but what about things like macaws, which are brilliant blue birds, right?
Yeah, or like them poisonous tree frogs.
Yeah, so those appear blue, right? Well, see, they're not actually blue, they just look it. So there's a really interesting thing that, blue's a good color. It's good for signaling and communicating between animals. That's why they use colors, is to communicate, right? And it's a really nice one because it's bright and it's easy to see. And so then, when evolution was taking its course and animals were developing their colors, blue was one that you naturally think they would get, but it could not produce blue as a natural pigment.
Why is that? I actually have no idea what the answer to this is.
So red and orange pigments are called by carotenoids, right? So if we take like a flamingo, you know why a flamingo's pink?
Because it eats lots of pink shrimp.
Exactly. That's kind of a similar reason why a salmon is that bright, rich color.
Because it eats lots of pink shrimp.
Exactly. So they get their color from what they eat. Brown and blacks are produced by melanins, like human skin tone that's caused by, melanin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what gives us that color. And then yellow is this thing called pteridine. That's where that yellow pigment comes from. It's a little bit more common. Generally, blue does not have a naturally occurring pigment. So you get them in plants, right? You can have blue plants.
Oh, yeah, you have lots of blue plants.
Yeah, bluebells. You say a lot, but out of the 280,000 flowering plant species, less than 10% of them actually have blue flowers. That's less than 28,000 plants in the world have blue flowers. That's
a lot of plants.
Yeah,
but not a lot of
yeah,
plants.
It sounds like a lot, but it's really not when you think it's less than 10%. So, birds, right? There's a lot of bluebirds that we can think of. Bluebirds, blue jays, kingfishers, right? So the reason they look blue is because of a thing called Rayleigh scattering. It's the same reason the sky appears blue, because the sky isn't actually blue. So what Rayleigh scattering is the way that light waves bounce off particles, right? So you have your 5 base colors of light come in, and your red and your green and yellow, they bounce off other colors, and orange too. They bounce off air particles, and they go out to the way. Blue's the only one that's able to make them through because it has a shorter wavelength, and so then it's able to get to your eyes. It's not they absorb it, they just redirect the light. So that's why the sky looks blue. Same type of thing in birds, right? So let's take the blue jay, for instance. So the pigment in their feathers is caused by melanin. So it should appear almost black, but they look blue because the way their feathers are built up it's kind of like almost like foam. And so when the light passes through it, all the other light colors get absorbed or redirected, and just the blue comes through, and that's what goes to your eyes.
So they're bending light.
They're not bending light, they're just scattering light. But you say bending light, and that brings me up to my favorite of all these. I discovered this, and it just kind of makes an animal I liked a lot even cooler. So I'm not a big fan of butterflies, but I really like the Morpha blue butterfly. Do you know what the Morpha blue butterfly is? It's that really vibrant, pretty blue one.
Yeah.
It's actually what the emoticon for butterflies are on phones, is this butterfly. The way they produce blue is way cooler than any other way. Butterflies are a type of moth, right? But they're moths that learned how to... Well, no, they are a moth that, developed the ability to fly in daylight. Another thing is they have very vibrant wings, right?
Why do we have not have Butterfly Man, but we have Mothman? I guess it's because at night.
Yeah, Butterfly Man would just be a dude dressed in bright colors. That's not scary. You go outside and you can see that. There was an incarnation of the Doctor that's Butterfly Man. The Mothman is terrifying sounding. Plus, Butterfly Man doesn't sound scary.
Butterman.
But back to the Morpha blue butterfly. The way that they're able to appear blue is because they have ridges that stick up from their wings, right? From the scales on their wings, it's like a little protrusion with like little, ridges on it. And so when light rays come and hit it, certain wavelengths of light are just kind of shot out and you don't see them. Except for blue. Blue is just the right length that it gets, redirected out and bends. Like they bend the light so it appears blue and goes into your eyes. They also have on their scales, they have red absorbing cells so that it absorbs any stray red cells that would or red light rays that would redirect back so they would look red. It just absorbs those. So they're bending the light to appear blue, which is I think the coolest way that any animal developed a way to appear a different color.
No, they're just bending light. They're just like manipulating light. That's like some comic book level.
Yeah, that's like an X-Men character would have the ability to bend light off their body.
Pretty sure there was one.
I wouldn't be surprised. There were so many of them, but that doesn't stop there with this butterfly. If you pour if you pour alcohol in their wings, right? They don't they've done this with like dead ones.
Okay.
They pour alcohol in their wings. They no longer look blue, right? Because the light gets absorbed into the alcohol. So they're
What color are they then?
It's like a greenish brownish color.
Oh, so like way less cool.
Yeah.
More boring.
But they're waterproof. Their wings are waterproof. Because they naturally live in a rainforest, and you think, okay, water coming down, that would mess up with their ability to appear blue. Well, no, they developed the ability, the way the ridges work, it lets water roll right off them. So now they can fly in the rain. Which, flying creatures have trouble flying in the rain because the water weighs down their wings and then they can't fly anymore, right?
Yeah.
But now they're free from that. And it doesn't impede the color of their wings or anything like that.
Man, this is just a really rad animal.
Yeah,
like
it's one of those things where like nature.
This is super cool, actually.
Nature could not find a way to make animals actually look blue, like chemically and biologically. So it turned it into an engineering thing and a physics thing. So it physically changed the way that they were like made on a microscopic level just to make them look blue. Which is just like mind blowing.
Yeah.
This is all to say that blue is a very rare color to naturally occur chemically, right?
Yeah, well, I kind of learned about cool butterfly.
Yeah,
so,
you learned
like,
about...
That's worth
yeah.
it.
So, another common dye that was used to make blue is actually indigo, right? The word indigo comes from the Greek word indico, which means Indian, because it was so associated with India. That was the kind of the earliest place that it was produced from. The oldest...
Why is that?
So, indigo plants can only grow in subtropical places.
Oh, so it's a plant dye, then.
Yeah, it's a plant dye. There is only one animal that has been found in, and that's the Murex sea snail. That is the same snail that you get that purple color from. It's the exact same reason, and I'll get into in a minute about how that purple color occurs, because that's another fascinating process, how they got purple dye. But indigo is from leaves and flowers. It's found in tropics and some subtropical places. India is the main place that's come from, right? Southeast Asia, because it's very warm, and they can only grow in there.
Oh, yep. I was down there earlier.
Yeah, and it's very,
it's very humid and warm.
Yeah, and so true indigo only naturally comes from India. Now, they've been able to grow it other places, but that's the place it originated in. It's called true indigo. The scientific name for it, but I'm not going to get into that. Another plant that they were able to find is called dyer's knotweed. Now, this is kind of more into East Asia, but it doesn't produce as rich of a blue color. And dyers as D-Y-E-R-S, not like dyers as someone who dies.
That'll be really unfortunate, dying in weed.
Yeah, well, not going there. In Europe, they had a plant called woad. It's
I
spelled
remember this plant.
Yeah, most people might, the name's kind of familiar. Woad. It produces blue, but it's not as rich as true indigo. And see, the reason that true indigo became so associated with India is because they were able to produce so much of it. That's where it was like shipped out from. Like all places would be shipped out. Europe, until like during the Middle Ages, it was really rare because a lot of like Persian countries in the Levant and places in that area, and the Greeks, they had such high, heavy duties on it. And duties, I mean customs duties.
Taxes and tariffs.
Yeah, they had such high costs on it that it would just be pointless to get it, shipped through there. It was such a rare thing that up until about the 19th century,
so the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, a painting would have to, on like the register, it would have to have separately if it had blue in it and how much it had, because they would tax it differently. Because blue is such a rare color.
So you had to pay more to be a specific color. Okay,
yeah,
sure.
Well, you think the Virgin Mary, all those statues of her, right? She has the blue mantle, right? And there's so many of them. Well, a trick they learned to do is they used a cheaper blue. They painted a layer of that over, and they took an ultramarine glaze and would like paint that over the top of it to make it appear richer. So the two colors combined would make a richer blue, but they would use less. Ultramarine's actually also an interesting one. During the 14th to 15th centuries, it was considered rarer than gold. It would only be produced in certain mountains, and I believe it was, what was it? I think Vietnam, or some area around there.
So
somewhere in
all
Asia.
colors, that all like purple and blue colors exist naturally in like southeastern Asia. And, like,
well, in purple,
India.
so we move over to like the Middle East. There's a lot in the Middle East too.
Okay.
We're gonna head over there in a second. A few last things about indigo. The oldest dyed cloth that is indigo that we found is from Huaca Prieta in Peru. It dates from 6,000 years ago.
Really?
Yes.
How did they get down in Peru?
They had some in there too. So in Central and South America, they had some. It was called anil, and it was a blue producing plant. That was rarer than like true indigo or dyer's knotweed or woad, but they still had it in there. It just wasn't used as much. But there's also a 7th century Neo-Babylonian tablet that gives the specific instructions on how to dye wool blue. All the steps you had to go, and its rarity and all that type of stuff about
Like in Minecraft.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, like, you had to get, like, specific recipe to dye your, and it wasn't just,
like
slapping,
in Minecraft.
Yeah, not just slapping lapis on a block of white wool, you had to boil it, and so that would be really interesting if they did that in the game. You had to, like, do all the steps to dyeing wool, because I think we dyed wool at one point in school, and that's a whole...
We were dying it with
mess.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, okay, that's true. We used the microwave.
We used the Kool-Aid and a microwave, and then we had to cart it.
Yeah, which is a whole lot of work.
Which is
a thing to go over to West Africa. There was these people called the Tuareg people. They're nomadic, and they live from like the Sahara to Cameroon. And they would use it for like their headwear and stuff like that. It would be dyed blue, and that's kind of like a sign of who they were. And then you get over to like, actually some people in Northern Africa were considered the best dyers of blue in the world. The Yoruba people in Nigeria and the Mandinka people of Mali were known. That's what they were known for, is their expertise in blue dyeing. And like the women there, that's like what they were. That's what it's like. The women there are great at dyeing blue. That's what you know them as. Like, they're just really good at it.
Really good at making colors. Nice.
Yeah. So indigo became important as a color during the Edo period of Japan.
Huh.
nobles
Remind me
there
again
liked it a
what
lot.
the Edo period was.
Oof. Edo period. That was during the from like 1600 to 1800. So kind of during the Enlightenment period.
Oh, okay.
So kind of in the modern.
We're getting into the more modern.
We're getting more modern again, and they during the 18th century they learned how to synthetically create blue
using Kool-Aid.
No. I mean, they used. They were able to create kind of, not really crisp, but they were able to create like a powder that would be blue. So I guess you could drink it like Kool-Aid, but it wouldn't taste good. You'd probably die. Yeah, actually, indigo was also included into the like the Space 6, which then became the Base 7 colors of the rainbow by Sir Isaac Newton.
Yeah. So why is that? Because on the color spectrum, there really only is about 6 colors that are like easily definable.
Really 5.
Yeah.
Because if we go back to the nature of purple, you really end up with blue, red, orange, yellow, and green. So he added indigo and added purple. So he added purple. There's kind of an obvious reason for understanding why you would add purple, because it's something humans see, and it's a color that we have in the natural world.
Yeah.
And then he added indigo. If I remember correctly, it was because he was obsessed with the number 7, and he wanted he considered 7 to be like the perfect number. And so he put it in there so there'd be 7 colors of light. So it really doesn't need to exist on the color order, because it could just be considered blue. That actually gets into like the weird things about colors, like the words we use for them, because in certain places there's the word for, are like green and blue the same color. Certain languages have the same word for, the word for green is the same word for blue. Actually, scientists call that color grue. In like with the Latins in like the Latin period, the Greco-Roman period, you wouldn't just say, I don't like blue, but I like red. You would say, I don't like blue birds, but I like my red toga. They didn't think of colors in the abstract.
Really? Okay.
They had to be specifically connected to an object. They would say, I do not like the blue ocean, but I do like the green fields. It had to be...
And speaking like that, they knew that they were talking about this abstract concept.
No,
of color.
they didn't look at it like an abstract concept. It was specifically just... I mean, the way that we don't like... Like, it would be like, to them it'd be saying, I don't like blue. It'd be like if I walked up to you and said, I don't like tall. Like, that's just a weird idea to you, right? I mean, do you not like tall people? Do you not like tall buildings? Just saying, I don't like tall. Or I don't like wide.
No, we just say, I don't like heights.
Yeah, but
And
like...
but
heights we're talking about, we're meaning high buildings or high things. But I could say, I don't like height could mean I don't like, tall people. They had to be specifically connected with an object. So that's like an interesting way that they thought about color. It wasn't really until the modern age when we looked at it as a color as an abstract concept. But we hop over to purple, right? So
I love purple.
Purple has been used as a color since somewhere around 16,000 to 25,000 BCE, and it was used in France for cave drawings. They would use sticks of manganese to draw outlines of animals, stuff like that, which I quite like. Manganese as a chemical. It's fun when not a lot of people know. But it
I
makes
used to do a similar thing in the dirt when I was like 5.
Manganese?
No, like draw on the sticks in the dirt.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I mean, you take that, but you take like a stick of this kind of hard, it's really like a soft thing.
Like, is it similar to chalk then?
Yeah, so it's, okay, so like the different colors of clay, there's like red clay, that's caused by iron oxide or iron in it, right?
Yeah.
You can have a pinkish purple clay, and it's caused by manganese in the soil. So it's an element, it's a metal. That's you can, if you're able to find it in like a clear enough form, you can use it as kind of a color. So the Sphinx dye Murex was the color that was that's the animal that they got the color from.
A sphinx.
Sphinx, like the bird, but not the sphinx. It's a Sphinx dye Murex. It's a type of sea snail.
Ah, okay. I thought it was
No.
Sphinx,
They didn't just didn't just take a sphinx. It's like ask you 3 riddles, you get them wrong, and turn me into dye.
Yeah.
That would make the entire tale of Oedipus Weirder if that's possible.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly how Oedipus defeated the Sphinx.
Yeah, he just put him in a pot and
put him
boiled
in a
the
pot,
Sphinx
time to
and
die. The city
made a
got rich,
toga.
it ran out, and then that's
when
why
he scooped his eyes out.
and went away and just died in the desert somewhere in the wilderness.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a better story than what actually happened. But it wasn't in Greece that they started producing purple. It was in Tyre and Sidon, two of the largest Phoenician cities in modern-day kind of Lebanon.
Yeah.
They were very well-known, very rich port cities. So what they would do is they would take these snails, they would crack and remove the shells, and they would soak the snails. They would remove this, tiny gland from it, and squeeze out the juice from it into a basin, all right? And then they would put the basin in the sunlight. So this liquid would go from white to yellowish green, to green, and then to violet, and then to red. And then after that, it would just get darker and darker until it became a gross blackish color.
So, the original pigment wasn't purple.
No.
They had to... Was it a process of bleaching it?
Kind of, yeah. It would get the color of it would it was kind of, I guess you could kind of say it's what is it? I don't know, photochromatic, where it would get the color would change by the light, the effect of it, the physical properties of light would alter its color. Kind of like how you have that with stuff all the time. I mean, you leave something out in the sun and it gets bleached.
Yeah.
But the problem with it is that you had to remove it at just the right time, otherwise you'd completely miss the color you wanted. Because
it had to be done in a liquid form.
Yeah, you would leave a basin out of it and in the sunlight. And if you didn't remove it from the sunlight in time, you would end up with the wrong color. So most of the time it was used to create colors that range from violet to or dark purpley violet to crimson, somewhere in there. And they would use that common times it was used is during the Republic period of Rome. They would use it for the leader of the country would have a purple toga. Constantine was very well known. Charlemagne, both of them, they had their purple robes. Another time is the Israelite tabernacle, as described in Exodus for its the instructions of how to make it. It had to be built, all the cloth in it had to be purple. You think about how much cloth went into that. I forget the exact amounts. There's a lot of cloth in there. All of that had to be purple. Insanely expensive. In China, they used another plant called the purple gromwell. This is, back in the, kind of not necessarily around the same time, but a little closer, first end of BC, early CE. The problem is it didn't stick well to fabrics, so it kind of went out of fashion. Basically, this one leader was like, I want everything purple.
It literally came out of the fashion.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, literally, the leader was like, I want to wear everything purple. And they're like, hey, this is too expensive, isn't working well. You gotta stop doing that. He's like, well, guess it won't work. He died. All right, no more purple. That's kind of how they were, so they just went to indigo.
Oh, okay.
But back in 2008, they recreated this Tyrian purple, which is the color that was created by the sea snails. It took 12,000 mollusks to produce 1.4 ounces of dye. So if you think about how small 1.4 ounces of dye is, that is about 45 milliliters, 40 milliliters of dye.
It's not even a whole shot.
No, it's such a small amount. That's not even a that's
that is a lot of mollusks that had to die for not even a shot of dye.
That's 3 tablespoons of dye. That's nothing. So you think about how expensive that would be to have to produce that much. And so while purple as a dye is more rare and more valuable, as a color, it's actually way more common. You've seen a lot more things. I mean, there are purple flowers. They're just hard to get the dye from. They're hard to get the dye enough concentration. They end up being kind of lighter. And
they do. They turn into a lilac.
Well, I mean, lilacs and stuff like that. They end up being almost pink.
Yeah.
You don't actually get that purple color. You have to get it from a location. Then they figure out how to make it synthetically, and it became way cheaper. Now you can have purple stuff everywhere because it's now it's kind of just whatever, we can chemically synthesize it.
Whatever color we want, as long as we can see it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things where blue is rarer as a color in nature, but purple is rarer as a dye.
So you mentioned earlier about the sky being blue and why that is, and this entire time we've been talking about light. So let's talk about the ultimate source of light that we have on Earth.
I know the answer to this. Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Of all the things that you would have said,
I was trying to think of something, and that's the
that
first one
was
that came
like
to my
the
head.
last thing
It
you
was
would
like
have said.
Michael Jackson, but he's dead. Like, he's not on
I would
Earth
have thought
anymore.
that you would have said something like that, or like David Bowie.
Dude, David Bowie's dead. Like, they're not on Earth. You're picking people who aren't on Earth.
Okay.
Like, could I go with, could go with Michael Jordan.
Which one?
Michael B. Jordan, obviously.
Okay, that's what I thought you were gonna go with. No, I'm talking about the sun. You know, the thing that you try to avoid.
Yeah.
Specifically, you try to avoid. Okay. So, speaking of color in the sun, what color really is the sun?
Great segue.
I know.
That's
I just get out of the segue.
Yeah, you just whoop right in there. Speaking of color, what color's the sun? All right, let's go on.
Not my greatest work.
No, but I'll let it stand. Let's just what.
Okay. So you might say it's yellow, or it's red.
I say it's the color of hatred. 'Cause that's what I feel when I look at the
Okay, that would
sun.
be red, because red is the blood of angry men.
Okay. Well,
Please cut that reference out.
No. We're keeping that Les Mis. That good Les Mis reference.
Okay. So, the sun actually emits pretty much the entire spectrum of light that we can see,
Right.
but its longest wavelengths are actually green. Like the one that most produces is green. It's not the
I
longest.
actually knew that because I saw a picture one time of somebody had like a rendering of the sun of how it would actually appear if we could look at it based off its most, the light that it has the most of, and it was like a light greenish color.
Yeah, because it requires like green emits the most of a light green. So why does it appear mostly yellow and whitish? Because the truth is that since it emits most of all our colors of light, it is actually white. So the true base
Right.
color of the sun is white. However, it emits all these colors, but the green and the blue are when the light comes through our atmosphere.
Atmosphere.
Atmosphere. Yeah, smear that
Smears the
atmosphere.
light.
Yeah, it just smears the light all around, which is why the sky is blue.
I mean, kind of. It just like spreads it around. I mean, that's what I was saying with Rayleigh scattering. Like scatters it.
Yeah, so it scatters,
So I guess
which
kind of it
are
smears.
the shortest wavelengths.
Scatters are the shortest wavelength.
Yeah, it scatters the shortest.
Oh, scatters. Okay. I
It
thought you were saying
scatters
that- Okay.
the shortest wavelengths, which is why the sky is blue. It's that age-old question: why is the sky blue?
Why is the sky blue? Where's the beef? And why is the rum gone? The three oldest questions.
Okay, so the first one is because of the sun. The second one,
I thought the first question asked was worse than beef, and I was very confused.
the second one is also because of the sun. And the third one, I don't know, Jack Sparrow drank
Kevin
it all.
Hart. Oh. I thought the third one was beef again. I thought you were saying the reason that why the rum's gone was because of the sun. I was gonna say, well, the sun has an alcohol problem.
You know what? It does a lot. It
Yeah.
can have a drink or two if it wants. You know, it provides for like all life on this planet. It deserves a drink.
Just get some people at NASA just to throw shots at the sun.
Hey, whenever you have a drink, remember to pour one out for the sun.
Yeah.
This has been a PSA.
Pour one out for the sun.
It does a lot.
Which type
it
of
deserves
alcohol
a break.
do you think it likes? Because I feel like gin. I feel like the sun's classy. Like a gin martini. Scattered, not stirred.
I can't even do this now. Nope, this is done. Podcast is over. I can't do this.
I guess it's just me now.
Okay.
And we're gonna talk about cake for 12 hours.
Okay. So,
Oh, you came back.
okay, I'm back now. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about the sun. Why it's, yellow and stuff. So, the yellow and red and orange are the longest rays of the longest.
Wavelengths.
They have the biggest wavelengths.
Yeah, baby, you got me. Wavelength.
And they're able to go through the atmosphere, and that's what we see the most of. And it's actually interesting because of how, what would you say the color of the sun is? Just
White.
white, okay, but
Like a whitish yellow.
if you ask most people in America,
Yellow.
what would they say?
Yellow or orange.
Yellow or orange, which is interesting because that is a cultural thing.
Really?
It is, yeah.
Okay, hang
so,
on. This is intriguing. Tell me,
yeah,
tell me.
so-
tell me more.
So in Western, peoples, we tend to describe the sun as yellow. However, say in Far Eastern, say Japanese, they describe it as red.
Okay,
Does
what?
that make does their flag make sense?
Yeah, because Nihon is the name of their island, and it means land of the sun.
Yeah.
And that's supposed. Oh, okay.
So yeah, they would describe it as red. So
I always thought it was just
because
because
of-
red stands out in white better than yellow does, but if you're gonna do yellow,
yeah, I'm sure there was some I'm sure they went to their graphic
aesthetically-
designer and was like,
Yeah.
hey, how best to do this flag thing? And they're like, just do this.
Because technically they did kind of have graphic design though. 'Cause
Graphic
they still
design
had
has
logos.
existed forever, yeah.
Yeah. So graphic design has always been a passion.
It always has. You have the greatest graphic designers: Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Donatello,
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross, of course. Those are the 4 Ninja Turtles.
Yes. Imagine how different the Ninja Turtle would be if it's like, I'm Leonardo and he's got swords, and it's like, I'm Donatello and I have a staff. I'm Michelangelo and did he use nunchucks? Whichever weapon Michelangelo used, I never watched it. And it's Bob Ross. Like, I'm Bob Ross and I've got some happy little trees. That'd be a way more interesting show. It's like with Shredder, and then he's like, I'm gonna shred, and he's like,
I'm gonna
paint
beat
you
the devil
green.
out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I feel like they would beat all their bad guys so much quicker just by the power of Bob Ross.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I was about to say that's who I should have said the son was, but he too is dead, so.
Okay, look. Bob Ross
Is it
shines
mortal?
on.
Oh, okay.
Through death, Bob Ross shines on through his Joy of Painting series, which you can watch on YouTube.
Or Netflix. I think
It's on Netflix, too?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, okay, so cultural views on the sun. Why do they say it's red, though? What's the reason that we see it yellow and they see it red?
Because that's because those are the longest, the ones. The blue and green ones are caught up in the atmosphere.
Right.
That's why the sky's blue. So those are the ones that penetrate and
Yeah,
what we see.
but why the difference? Why don't we interpret it as the same
it's
color?
just a cultural difference.
Cultural. You don't really know there's not really a reason given for it.
No.
Is it just kind of a thing that we know
It's
that
kind of
happens?
like- yeah.
Okay.
So it's just yellow. So that comes up to what? How about the sun is, and I said it's white, but it's actually a yellow dwarf star.
Yeah, it's definitely not a white dwarf star. We would
No,
be
it is
dead
not.
by now if it was.
So the yellow dwarf star, and there are a bunch of them, and the sun is one of the most biggest and powerful, right, of the yellow dwarf stars.
Right.
So there are also red dwarf stars and white dwarf stars,
And blue dwarf stars.
and yes, and those are describing a type or a class of star.
Right. It depends on the density and mass of
Density
them.
and heat and all that. Well, yellow dwarf isn't. So they lied to you again, and I just lied to you.
I feel
It's not a yellow
to.
dwarf star.
It's not okay.
It's just a white star. It's just a misnomer. It's not really. It's just a white star.
It's a white star, but it's called a yellow dwarf.
Yeah, because yellow dwarf refers to more. Okay, so while white and red dwarf stars have a certain like category,
right?
How we define them, it's different for yellow dwarf stars.
Okay.
And so what happened was they kind of named it. They took the sun as their starting point.
Okay. And
then they're like anything that like closely resembles and like is classified after this. So then they made that. That's how they got the yellow dwarf stars. But even the sun isn't a yellow dwarf star. In reality, it's just a white star.
Right, but they didn't want to call it a white dwarf star.
Because it's not a dwarf star at all.
Oh, okay.
It's just a white star.
Okay, it's just a star.
Yeah. And like I said before, if in like we saw that rendering of it, it's not even white.
No, it's like a.
It would be
yellow.
green.
Yeah.
It would be a light green.
Yeah. So it's just really
science
just really
can't even
wrong.
come up with the right terms because they're like it's a yellow
I mean, but like,
star.
when have they been able to? Like, it's their job to give categorize things, but
This really does explain the Pluto, though.
yeah, I mean, like, is it a planet now? I get confused because it keeps being a planet that's not a planet. Is it like, is dwarf planet actually a term they use?
Yeah, it is.
Also, I saw a picture of Pluto the other day, and that is it's like the prettiest planet.
It is. It's so pretty.
It's like that red, blue, and white. Like, I love Jupiter because it looks weird.
Yeah.
But Pluto is just gorgeous to look at.
I would say, like, after Earth is one of the prettiest. I
Really?
say Earth.
I'm just, to be fair,
Green.
at this point, I'm just
Like,
done with Earth.
Okay, that's
I'm
true.
just
But,
tired
like,
of seeing it.
I had the green plants.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
like, I know that Pluto's a frozen wasteland.
Yeah, that's why it sounds cool.
Which, it's, like, cool, like, aesthetically, but, like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I need
know
my
what?
plant.
Which one's is it Neptune where it's super wet? What's the water belt planet?
Pretty sure it's Neptune.
I mean, that makes sense because he's the god of the sea. I don't know planets, so, like, I don't know, but that one sounds cool because it rains a lot.
Yeah. This talk of the absorption of color and the redirection of it, and how the color is still there, but you just can't see it at all, will bring me to my next point of being colorblind. So, colorblind, I'm just going to go over a few, like, misconceptions about being colorblind.
Okay. Real quick, didn't you used to be colorblind when you were younger?
I did have a thing of colorblindness. It would have been the,
They have fancy names for them, like Durano.
yes. If I remember right, I can't remember very
you
well.
You couldn't distinguish between, like, purple and blues and greens, like the dark
it
colors.
was those darker colors that I couldn't distinguish between, but it was like usually in bad lighting.
Yeah, I
So,
think, and it's kind of gone away.
I'm
Hasn't
not
it?
sure if that was even real colorblindness.
Well, and to be fair, when you're growing a lot of times, your eyes are changing, and so sometimes when kids have trouble seeing colors, and then they are able to kind of grow out of it as your eyes kind of expand. Like,
Yeah.
if I remember right, the first color that a baby sees is red. Like, first they see it red, and then it changes from there. So it might have been just, like, kind of related to just the literal changing biology in your eyes, like the physiology.
That's interesting. So you say you want to see red,
Yeah, it's like the
which is the
first color they see.
longest.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the easiest to that's like the easiest to get through.
And mine was specifically on the shorter wavelength.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying it's only like developing, like the cones in some of the stuff in your eyes. That's my guess. I'm not in any way a medical person of any sort. That's just kind of what my hunch is.
Okay, that makes sense from
Just
this
Sherlock
logical level.
Holmes that out.
Yeah.
Put on some
Okay.
sunglasses and scream.
So-
because I did CSI.
About colorblindness, that's not really a good name for it, because it's not the ability to not see color. It's more an ability to distinguish between colors.
Right, like you can distinguish between dark blues and greens and purples.
Yeah, I could still see them.
You just couldn't.
And
like,
they
tell the
weren't like
difference. Invisible.
like or like grays, blacks, and
Yeah.
whites. It would be real color blindness, where everything was in, black and white,
Right.
essentially.
It'd be like living back in the 40s.
Well, yeah,
Everything was black and white.
40s.
That'd been sad time to live in.
Yeah.
Imagine now.
So we're all just like the painters and artists, just crazy.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, they definitely were just kidding.
Oh, why did I say that? Like, we're the
Yeah,
painters
that's
and artists as crazy
obvious.
as like Van Gogh
Yeah, and Bob Ross.
and Jackson Pollock.
So we know it's not the inability to see color, but the inability to distinguish colors. But I know some people are like red-green colorblind. Well, like what kind of are there different types of colorblindness?
Yeah, so they're pretty much red-green colorblindness is the most common form of colorblindness.
Must make driving hard.
It does actually. So a thing is actually it does. Being colorblind can actually hinder some parts of your life. So you have to like memorize which color where the lights on a
Right.
stoplight are. And even in some countries, if you're colorblind, you just can't get a driver's license. They have trouble distinguishing like between chocolate sauce and ketchup.
Chocolate sauce?
Yeah, so like
Like Hershey's chocolate syrup?
like Hershey's chocolate syrup.
Oh.
Because they have essentially the same consistency.
That's true.
But if you look at the colors, they're in the dark. They're very you can be very distinguished. Is it hard to distinguish?
And they're kind of same viscosity. So.
Yeah, they're the same viscosity. So yeah,
So you could put like ketchup on your ice cream?
ketchup on your ice cream and chocolate sauce on your hot dog. So like, yeah, it can hurt.
Yeah, I feel like
you
that might
know.
hurt worse than driving, getting hit by a car,
Yeah.
just eating.
So like, it does hinder, but like also the guy. Okay, so the guy who invented crayons. Just kidding, he didn't invent crayons.
James Crayola.
Yeah. So anyway, there was probably some kid back in like 1670 whatever who got his like mom's candle, started just writing on the desk, and his mom came in and was like, "Billy, what the frick are you doing?"
Yeah,
And
you
he's
don't
just
know
like-
how to write. You're
He's
illiterate.
just like, I'm just writing so that when I can light it on fire and it looks cool. And it's like, that's not how a candle works, you dumb kid.
Yeah, learn science. Oh yeah, science is just being invented. It's okay, you'll learn. I know, what time period we're in? Did you say the 16th century?
I said 1670 whatever.
Oh, okay. Science had been invented for a while. But
Yeah.
post-Renaissance.
Anyway, so yeah, but like, Crayola, after he kind of retired and, had made a fortune off, color.
Yeah. We get onto J.D. Rockefeller for making a monopoly on oil, but he really has a monopoly on the crayon department. I mean,
Not really, no he doesn't.
well, think about it. Who gets like Rose Art crayons? You get Crayolas because you care. It's like L'Oreal because because you're worth it or whatever, because she's worth it. Crayola because you're worth paying the extra $2 so you don't get crappy knockoff crayons. You get Crayola brand.
Yeah. But like, yeah, after he retired, he said he was colorblind and had colorblind. He was colorblind.
He had colorblind.
Yeah, he had the colorblind. So, but he still managed to do pretty good with color.
Yeah, he made a whole industry of.
So it has to do with being able to distinguish the shades. And so the main groups is red, green, colorblind, and then after that is blue, yellow, colorblind.
Okay. Now, is there a reason why those colors come in pairs? Because that's one thing I've never understood is why is it red and green? Because they're not like next to each other. Or blue and yellow. Like I could get if it was like red orange color, or like red yellow colorblindness, or blue green colorblindness. Like that makes.
Going back to cones in your eyes, cones they're just faulty and they just don't work properly. So it just happens to be that the cones that perceive those colors and they work together. So you don't just see one shade of red, one shade of green, one shade of blue. So
Right.
they have to work together to
Produce the exact
produce
hue
exact
and
taste
yeah.
in shade. When they're faulty, it screws up the other. If one type of cone is faulty, then it screws up the other two cones.
Oh, so if the blue cone is faulty, then the yellow one doesn't go right.
Yeah, the green and the red one can't properly,
compensate for it.
No, yeah, because they're not prepared. They're not equipped to read the shorter lengths of light.
It just kind of just passes through them, and so
it doesn't necessarily pass through. It just doesn't read correctly.
Oh, okay.
So it's still seen. It's just not perceived.
Okay, gotcha.
So
gotcha.
we're coming back to that idea of
perception,
not it actually a problem with intaking the information. It's interpreting.
Okay.
So now I'd be thinking that this only happens in people with colorblindness, but there's no true state of normal vision.
Okay.
Since light is on a spectrum, and nobody ever has the perfect eyes.
Right.
They're all different and everything. So, it just when people say you have normal vision, it just means that you don't have faulty cones to the point where you have trouble perceiving other colors. It's just that it's more consistent with reality.
Okay, so it's kind of like how with vision, 20/20 vision, it's not necessarily that you actually have perfect vision. It's just you don't have bad vision.
Yeah, they just don't need correction.
Gotcha.
So you can still have good vision, perceiving color, and not saying about having color blindness, and still you can fail the Ishihara.
Yeah, the test with the weird dots on it.
Yeah, so that's the test with all the dots, and they have you read a number, and you're in there why do I have to do this?
Right. Clearly that's a banana, and they're like, no, that's a 9. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic.
Yeah. So, here's another thing that it's actually kind of a true to an extent thing, is that the myth is that people who have color blindness can have better night vision and can see better in the dark. This is true to an extent. Not quite as much as necessarily it's made out to be.
Okay.
But there is some truth to it, but it's not. It's more case by case than if you have color blindness to a severity that you're diagnosed with being colorblind, you have just better night vision.
So is it something that could be considered more kind of correlation than causation?
Yes, and this comes to because it's a matter of perceiving light. So you're still intaking the light. It's just a matter of how you perceive it, and how you perceive light. Back in World War II, they would want to hire people who had red-green colorblindness because they could see through enemy camouflage.
Oh.
Yeah, because how camouflage works is, it's similar to your surroundings, but it's not the same.
Right.
And how.
And you just perceive it as looking kind of the same.
As its general surroundings. But with colorblindness, your perception is totally messed up.
Right.
So you're able to see through it. However, this has changed, and most of the time, if you have colorblindness like that, they don't
let you in the military, right?
Yeah,
because you could read something very incorrectly.
Yeah. Well, okay, and with that, that's where we'll end it today.
Yeah, I think that's a good stopping point. We want to thank you guys for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at FalseFactsCast, and then you can follow me at Dr. Pistachio PhD.
And you can follow me at Real Joel Chapel.
So tweet us with questions, suggestions.
And cool sample facts.
Thank you guys for listening. Have a great week.
As to how the moral goes. Nobody knew and nobody knows how the bubble was robbed of his twice 5 toes, or how the dawn came to own a luminous nose, or how the jumblies went to sea in a sieve that they rode, and came to shore at the Chancalibo where the bone trees grow, where the Jabberwocky small green tentacles do flow.